So I just finished the Biggest Loser documentary. Below is Bob Harper, who's one of the trainers on the show, and above is Joelle. She was one of the contestants with her friend Carla, and they were on the couple season. During that season, Joelle had a really hard time because Bob, he was really pushing her, and she was not responding to the kind of verbal abuse that he was basically putting her through. Kind of the philosophy of the Biggest Loser, and a lot of ways that they used to tell people how to work out was through like screaming at them. And she was like, I was getting enough of that at home, enough of people telling me that I'm too fat, I'm this, I'm that, and putting me down. So for him to just put me down doesn't help me lose weight. And then the show also messed up her friendship because Carla was also doing really well. She was responding really well to Bob, and Bob obviously liked Carla more than he liked her. So and they casted both of them because they were arguing at the audition. So that's how they got in the show in the first place. So they kind of love that this tension of Bob liking Carla more than Joelle, and then that also manifesting in how they're treating each other. And Carla kind of like thinking that she's better than Joelle because she is losing weight, and the trainer's actually like, Bob did admit that it wasn't his proudest moment in the particular scene where Joelle is running on the treadmill and she's supposed to be running on there for 60 seconds straight, but she can't, and she stops, and he just goes crazy on her. But at the same time, it seems like he doesn't regret it either. He stands behind every single thing that he did on the show. Joelle did not seem to lose a lot of weight on the show, but she did end up losing a lot of weight later. You can see her here. I think she's on Ozempic. In my opinion, the show would have benefited so much by having a therapist who the trainer actually like listened to, like a therapist who was able to like talk to the actual people and maybe share some of the information with the contestants' permission to the trainer, so the trainer knows how to adjust their strategies per person. But in this show, since it was for entertainment and drama, the best thing that the trainers decide to do is yell at people and tell them to go on super restrictive diets, even though the show doctor told them not to. Joelle also claimed that she was pushed to take these caffeine pills and other things on the show, but then the New York Post put out a crazy article saying that she was drugged by the doctor and all this stuff. So they are suing the New York Post currently, but she did have a back injury on the show that they made her work through that has just progressively gotten worse. And she did reach back out to the show, and nobody else contacted her after that. Like, they never reached back out to her. And when they asked one of the producers, like, hey, like, have you heard from her? He's like, oh no, she never reached out, but she can for sure if she wants to. Like, you know that lady reached out, her back was hurting. It was hurting on the show, and now she has like permanent injuries from being on the show because you guys pushed her body beyond its limits. Eventually, Carla does get voted off the show with Joelle just because the contestants just did not like Joelle at the moment. Like, they didn't like her because they felt like she wasn't working as hard as everybody else. Again, the show does not consider any other underlying conditions that you might have, any other mental aspects, because again, a lot of these contestants, they had a lot of things going on in their personal lives, which is why they were gaining so much weight. So there was no like aftercare either. So they really did her dirty. And Joelle says, fuck you and your dog too, to Bob in this documentary. And I was like, okay, clock that. Because Bob is just so smug. Like, he really doesn't regret any single thing that he did. He feels like he was 100% in the right, and he did what the network and producers wanted him to do, which granted is his job. I don't think he understands the way that he made people feel and that these are humans and not just like props for entertainment on a TV show.
Too much media.
Welcome to Too Much Media.
Welcome to
Tune in
Too Much
to
Media.
Too Much
Have fun.
Media.
Too much media.
Alrighty, hey guys, if you're new here, welcome to the channel. This is a creative mastery channel. We talk all things creativity and how to use your creative flow in order to self-master and improve your life. Make sure you guys are liking, comment, subscribing, just interact with the channel however you want so YouTube knows we're in here. Let's get into today's video. So for today's video, I want to talk about the documentary Fit for TV. I just watched it today, and you know, I have my series on fat mentality. I'm going to have the playlist in the description below, and I feel like this is a good case study on fat mentality and the effects of fat mentality. So basically, in this show, they talk about The Biggest Loser. Now, back in like the 2010s, 20 teens, is that what we call the 2011 to 2018 era? Like, between that era, Biggest Loser was on TV, and when I tell you this show was a hit show, like, I was a kid and I was watching that show. Mind you, my aunt, she loved that show. And I feel like it was one of those shows that was like supposedly on TV to inspire big people, but I promise you, then people loved it even more. Then people love Biggest Loser more than the big people, okay? Because she used to watch that show. She used to watch that show round the clock. And mind you, she lives in Canada, so she's not even watching the show, I don't think, like, up to date. Like, I think she's watching it maybe like a season behind or 2 seasons. You know, when you're international, like, you're not up to date with American television. You're kind of getting the background seasons. So I remember it was years after people in America had already kind of like let go of The Biggest Loser. Like, it was like, not to say they let go, because it was still on air for quite some time, but like the peak of the popularity of The Biggest Loser had a bit died down. And I remember every time I was with her, she was always watching that show. She loved that show. She would be like, really getting into people's stories. She'll be sitting there trying to retell us all of it. Like, yeah, he's a really good guy because he's trying to lose weight because of this. That girl over there, she's lazy. I already know she's having problems, this, that, and the third. Like, she was just really get into psychoanalyzing all of the people and their weight issues. And she really would sit there and kind of study, basically, like, what was the reason these people would get big. And she would just be sitting there talking about I feel like people be getting big because because they just like be too emotional. Like they have a lot of problems and stuff, and so they use food. Like she'll just be like watching it all the time. She really loved that show. Right, and because of it, of course, like I feel like everyone knew about The Biggest Loser. I even remember back in the day when People magazine used to have like Jillian Michaels on the cover. Like I remember having a cover of her on People and stuff like that. Like this show really like catapulted. And I remember every single time somebody lost a lot of weight, anytime somebody lost a lot of weight, they would put like the person who would win Biggest Loser would always be on the cover of People magazine. So it wasn't even a just thing where like the show itself was a hit or like you go on there and you really get to lose weight, but it was like it could catapult you into like magazine covers, news interviews. Like this was also back in a time where we didn't really have social media like we do today, where nowadays if you get popular on reality TV, the most you're probably going to get is a social media presence where you'll get like a bunch of followers on your pages, and then also maybe like celebrities will start messing with you and you'll start getting invited to their events and stuff. But like to say like you do like a whole press tour that, you know, makes the show even more popular. Like I feel like back in the day, the like partnership between the shows and the cast members was like a little more tighter knit, and also like the obsession with the people on the shows were a bit more like tuned, where it was finer tuned, where it's like everybody knows them, but it was also kind of like structured, you know. Now it gets really chaotic. Like if you think about like shows like Love Island and things like that, where it's like now people sometimes get obsessed in a way where it's like a little bit too addictive, like where you're following them on social media, every single step they make, any wrong move they make, like we know what's going on with their lives forever. Whereas back in the day, it was kind of like we would have information about them during their press run. Once their press run was over, they could kind of go back to living their everyday American lives. Whereas these days, like we have so much access to these reality TV show stars that we end up knowing every little aspect of their life forever in perpetuity. They're like stuck in like with the knowledge of the public, like obsessing over their lives, you know, in a way where it wasn't back then. But basically the documentary goes into a couple of things, and I just wanted to go over what I feel like the show did wrong versus like at what point can we like really blame the show versus not blame the show for the things that the documentary accused them of, because a lot of accusations was made through the documentary. However, the documentary also was only 3 episodes for a show that went on for like 17, 20 seasons. Like this show had Grey's Anatomy numbers. Like this show went on for way too long to do a 3-part documentary and accurately depict how the show was perceived, you know? Like one of the things that they accused the show of is like glamour, like kind of bullying fat people in a way where like they're like kind of using them in order to, you know, make good TV for the American people, you know? So they're like making them do like challenges that are kind of demeaning and degrading. They have them eating unhealthy food just for us to kind of laugh at them. They have them like running. Oh yeah, one of the things they were talking about was every time one of the big people would like fall down or like have something happen on the screen, they would shake the camera to make it seem like, oh shit, like big person, it's like an earthquake, like that type of thing. So it's like, were they like was the show actually for the purpose of trying to educate America on the obesity epidemic as well as help people who are really struggling with their weight lose weight? Or was it just a like, you know, way to make fun of fat people in a way that they knew was gonna make money, you know? And it's like, you can argue that. I feel like you can argue that it's both. I feel like everyone understood, because they're kind of like, okay, that the show was using fat people to make fun of them. But I'm like, in real life, people make fun of fat people all the time. So it's like, you could say the show's making fun of fat people, but it's like society as a whole makes fun of fat people. Like, there's not like, the minute you do something as a fat person, like immediately there's gonna be a joke that is easily tied to you. So like, oh no, look at you eating this, da 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 da. Like, there's always gonna be a joke said to you when you're fat, you know? And I feel like what the show kind of did was highlight the like consistency in which fat people are kind of always shamed. But another thing, one of the main things I took away from watching this documentary is like that these people genuinely thought that every single problem that they had in life revolved around their weight. Like to them, like if you saw like what they did in order to get on the show, like they would get on camera and send in tapes of themselves jiggling around with their fat ass, say, just send me, America, because I'm a big old pig. Or, oh yeah, if you send me, I'm going to lose a bunch of weight. Look, and they would make fat jokes about themselves. So it's kind of like you're saying that the show is trying to, you know, use fat people to like make fun of them in order for TV, but it's like the fat people would do it themselves too, to be fair. And I feel like reality TV is always that. When we really look at reality, most times when you talk about a tragic event in your life or like something that happened to you back in the day, a lot of times when people retell stories of stuff like that, they always laugh. They'll be like, oh yeah, and then I remember, hoo hoo hoo, ha ha ha, my mama beat the shit out of me. Like think about when you and your cousins are all sitting around in a circle and y'all are all discussing your childhood. Isn't the main thing y'all laugh about is who's got the worst whoopings? Like it's natural when we're speaking about reality for people to discuss it in a joking term, right? So that's what reality TV as a whole, as a genre, always kind of ends up being. It's kind of like a way of like filming what goes on in real life, but in a way it always is, it's supposed to be entertainment. It's entertainment. So at the end of the day, you're making fun of real life by showing it in a true sense. So it's like, it's always going to be a bit like, we have to laugh or else it's not going to be entertaining, you know? So it's like even the people who was trying to sign up for the show would be making fun of themselves in order to get on the show. And when they would be sitting there making fun of themselves, a part of the start, you know, because in reality TV, it has to have, it's like a song, you know, it has to have moods, like it has to have tones, it has to go up and has to come back down to make it more interesting, right? So then the up would be like laughing and laughter and joking about their weight, right? But then the downwards would come when they kind of got serious and emotional about the weight. They would like cry about their weight. They would get really deeply emotional about their weight. They would talk about the struggles they face because of their weight. They would be talking about the things that, you know, the weight kind of silenced for them, things like that. So a big part of it that I noticed as I listened to a lot of them talk was how a lot of them felt like they needed to be on the show. Like that's part of where their tapes would be like, this is the only thing I can do to get my life together. I feel like if I, like one of the ladies, for example, she kept saying like, I felt like if I got on the show, it would save my marriage. She felt like her being overweight was what was ruining her marriage. And you know what I felt as I was listening to her? I felt like, you know what was really ruining the marriage? It was the weight, but only because you thought you should be in the marriage because of the weight. Because she revolved her whole life around her weight, she also revolves the fact that she was big to the fact that she was staying in the marriage. I felt like the only thing that losing weight was going to teach her was it was time to go. Like, I feel like the only thing that because she kept thinking that the reason her marriage wasn't working out was because she was big. I'm like, no, the reason you're still in the marriage is because you're big. The minute you lose weight, you're going to realize you need to get the fuck. Like, what? Like, a lot of times, like, the thing you think is the issue that is like making a problem is oftentimes what's keeping you in the problem that doesn't even exist. You know what I'm trying to say? Like she kept saying, oh yeah, my weight is what's ruining my marriage and I feel like it can just save my whole life. I can be better for my kids. I can work out with them more, like play with them better, like have just a better overall life and my family, like be there longer for my family and stuff like that. And I was just like, wow, this is really sad that all these people feel like the biggest loser is the only way that they can lose weight and that their weight is the only issue in their life that if solved would fix their life. When I'm just like thinking in my head, like this is what I talk about often with fat mentality of like a lot of times what keeps most people fat is the fact that they revolve their life around their fatness, you know. They really truly believe that their weight is like in direct correlation with however their life looks, you know, when oftentimes it's like how they're living their life that correlates to why the weight won't go, you know. So it's like they think that the reason that they're always anxious is why it is because they're so big. If they just lose the weight, they'll stop having social anxiety. But it's like a lot of times, no, it's actually technically opposite. It's because you're so socially anxious and you put so much weight on your social interactions and you think that they're so important that you keep the weight on because you're using the food to cope, you know. Or like they'll think like, oh yeah, but people ignore me and don't pay attention to me, and it's because I'm big. And it's like, no, you're big because you're always scared of being ignored, so you eat so that way when they ignore you, you can say that it's because you're big. Because if you were thin and then you got ignored, it would kill you more. So you decide to eat. So then that way, when you're ignored, you can say that it's because you're big. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So it's a psychological thing where a lot of times they're putting the wrong order of what came first, like the chicken or the egg. It's like a lot of times, oh my God, there's a man over there working out that scared the mess out of me. But, sorry guys, I'm outside right now trying to be the biggest loser. But what was I trying to say? Oh yeah, so a lot of times they'll be thinking that other problems revolved around them being fat, and so that's why they even got on the show, and the show capitalized off the fact that they knew that most people who were big think like that they think that, yeah, like we're gonna fix your problems, you're gonna lose weight, and you're just gonna be better all around. And what this TV show revolved around, like the main crux of the show was basically trying to say that although The Biggest Loser was a hit show, and although The Biggest Loser did successfully help all of them lose weight, an extreme amount of weight in a very quick amount of time, the issue ended up being that the turnaround was it ruined all of the contestants' metabolism. And so once they had this big weight loss that the whole show, like all of America watched them do, that years later, once they started to look back at old contestants and where were they now, that they all gained the weight back, that they all were big now. Some of them were even bigger than the amount that they were when they originally started on the show. So what ended up being the issue that they found out was that when you lose weight at such a quick rate, you end up messing up your metabolism, where your resting rate, okay, so how weight works is that you have a resting rate of like metabolic rate, right? So this is the amount of calories your body loses on a natural sense without doing anything. So like without exercising, without anything, just for living, your body's burning calories just because you exist, right? So there's a number of calories that burns every single day for you. For everyone, there's a resting rate, right? Most people's resting metabolic rate sits at around 12 to 1500 calories, okay? So but the issue is, as you weigh more and more, that resting rate also increases. And as you weigh less and less, that resting rate also decreases, right? So their issue was they would shoot down their calories where they're way below their resting metabolic rate they'll be eating like 800 calories a day, 600 calories a day, like barely eating and exercising a lot, burning like 6,000 calories a day plus, right? But the issue is their metabolic rate, because they're so high up in weight, is like maybe at like 2,500, 3,000 calories, right? And they're eating way below it. So once they lose all the weight and now they're in this new really thin body, normally a really thin body is supposed to be having a resting metabolic rate at around like 1,000, 1,200 calories, right? But their metabolic rate didn't have time to adjust because they lost the weight so quick. So their resting rate is probably still sitting at a good 3,000, 3,500 type of rate. So now you have a thin body that is having a metabolic rate of needing 3,500 calories, let's say. So now you're small, but your body is constantly starving. It's constantly wanting more food, even though in order to maintain the body that you're newly at, you're supposed to be at a super low rate, but your metabolic rate is it needs more food. It can't sustain eating at the rate that you're trying to keep your body at. And so it's like, even if you won't give it that amount of calories because it needs that amount of calories, it will create it. Like, it'll push you back to fat. You will naturally, based off any food you eat, your body will turn that back because it's used to being at a certain weight, so it's pulling you back to that weight as quick as it possibly can, because you just shocked your system. You just blew that shit right up. So that was the issue, where now that people were off the show, they were gaining the weight back at excessive rates very quickly, super fast. And this is what I always talk about when I talk about fat mentality, of like understanding that, you know, that the fatness is like an important thing to think about when you think about how you're doing it and not doing it at an excessive rate, and how oftentimes the way you need to lose weight is not going to be always conventional. You know what I'm trying to say? And losing weight excessively fast is super dangerous as well, which is one of the things the doctors would say. Because in the documentary, the trainers would be telling them, yeah, you need to eat less and move more. Like, you come on, y'all got to exercise. Bro, they had these people exercising for 8, 9, 10 hours a day. I'm like, God damn. They, like, what sense does that make? And the trainers would be like, you need to listen to me. Forget what the doctor said. Forget what the doctor said. Meanwhile, the doctor's on the other hand telling them all the exact opposite information. The doctor's like, you guys are under eating. Make sure all of you guys are ensuring that you're having around 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day. You guys can't shoot your calories down because it's unhealthy. Make sure everybody's eating enough, because you guys are also doing a lot of work and stuff like that. I don't want you guys to get too unhealthy. You guys all need to be around 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day. Now, mind you, 1,200 to 1,500 calories would have made them lose an excessive amount of weight, when we're talking about people who used to be eating 3,000 plus calories a day naturally anyway. So even if they did go down to 1,200 to 1,500 calories, they would have lost a massive amount of weight. But because the trainers had the incentive of needing them to lose as much weight as possible for the challenges, because at the end of the week they would get weighed, and it would be a kind of thing where it's like, oh, how much weight did you lose? And we're trying to beat the other contestants of like, okay, if this guy loses like 20 pounds and you only lose 15, then you lose for that week, you know? So they're telling their teammates, like the trainers are telling the teammates, like, nah, y'all gotta eat less, y'all gotta eat less, y'all gotta do this, y'all gotta do that, 8, 9 hours a day. That's another issue that the show was having. They have people who are like 300, 400, 500 pounds doing exercises that even people who are naturally fit would struggle to do. Even people who exercise regularly would struggle to do. Oh my God, this guy is stealing my whole fitness regime. I hate that. Yeah, go do something else. Like, I want to be me so bad. But even people who were actually fit would struggle to do the type of exercises they had these people doing on The Biggest Loser. Like, it didn't even make any sense. If you are morbidly obese, you barely need to exercise to lose weight. When I'm telling you, you don't need to do anything excessive, because the issue is these are also people who are carrying a lot of weight on them.
I'm running and my legs feel really heavy, like lead. What's happening right then is my body started to shut down. I might not make it, but I told myself I'm gonna do it because I want to change my life. I saw her and it looked like it was okay, she was gonna make it, and then there was nothing left in the tank. I can see the flags. I'm there. But I physically could not get up.
I finished and I looked back and Tracy hadn't made it yet. And the only thing that came through my mind was, we got a big team here to help her finish.
She collapsed right there on the other side of the finish line, and that's when I realized that was sort of wrong.
I knew something more serious was happening because she was really not responding.
I don't remember a lot. I remember hearing helicopter.
When the helicopter came, we were all scared to death.
It was horrific. No one could have expected that something like that was going to happen.
I just thought I was floating.
So that is like if you had like a fit person holding like 100, 200 pound dumbbells and then told them to go work out. Doesn't that sound a little bit insane? If I gave you 100 pound dumbbell right now and I told you walk on a treadmill for 30 minutes, could you do it? Cause I know good and damn well I couldn't. 100 pound dumbbell. I be holding 10 pound dumbbells while I go on the treadmill sometimes, and even that I be fighting for my life. Like there's a significant difference between holding a dumbbell on the treadmill and not holding one, let alone 200, 300 pounds of excess body weight. So it's kind of like a thing where it's like, because they're carrying so much excess body weight, any exercise at all is very calorie burning exercise. Any exercise, let alone you guys, bro. One of the parts of the documentary was on the first episode. They had the contestants race to do a mile in the scorching hot sun on the beach in the sand. Have you ever tried to run in sand? That shit feels like you're holding 100 pounds without holding nothing. Running on sand is so difficult. Walking on sand is difficult. What are we talking about? People who are professional athletes go and run in sand to do a special exercise to get faster. You guys got overweight, morbidly obese people running a mile in the heat in sand. Nah, these people hated them. Oh my God. I was like, y'all are trying to kill these people. Like, y'all are dead ass trying to kill them. And I don't even know how their heart sustained losing the amount of weight that they would lose in the time that they would lose. One of the contestants said he lost 239 pounds in 6 months. 6 months? 239 pounds? How is his heart still beating? I'm still wondering to this day. I'm like, his heart should be studied. Like, they need to have a scientist, like, study his heart and see, because he might be the next race of superhumans. How do you lose 239 pounds in 6 months and survive that? That's insane. I'm like, no, like, these people really didn't care about, like, their survival, you know what I'm trying to say? And mind you, he got a tummy tuck afterwards. He had all of this press. He got to go on TV. He had all this stuff happen to him. And then boom, he big as ever now. The tummy tuck, who, where? Tummy tuck who? You know what I'm trying to say? And I'm like, and one of the things that they were also talking about was like, the other issue with the show was that now that they had lost all this weight and been on TV and stuff for weight loss, it felt very like a lot of pressure because they felt like their weight was constantly under a microscope of like, oh, are you gaining weight? Are you losing weight? Like, how does your weight look? How does your weight look? It's like everybody's kind of watching them in a new way. It's like you already kind of feel watched because you was morbidly obese before. So everybody was probably kind of looking at you like, girl, you big. But like now it's like now you're on TV for losing weight and now you're kind of known as the person who lost a bunch of weight. So it's like now people are watching it even more. One of them was talking about how she's a police and she went to the police academy and the police academy chiefs or whatever had her doing public weigh-ins in front of all the other police officers, which, you know, police officers are usually mainly men. So she's like in front of like 250 plus men. She had to go get weighed in front of them. I'm like, Jesus. I'm like, that was a humiliation ritual. Why would they do that to you? And she said she was the only one they did that to. Oh, because she was on Biggest Loser. I'm like, quit. quit. And then another thing that the show was talking about, how they would do these challenges where they put temptation in front of them. So they'll get a bunch of bad food like pizza, chicken, donuts, cake, all types of stuff. And they would be like, okay, so basically with the challenges, you got to eat as much food as possible as you can right now, and then still actually lose the most weight at the weigh-in at the end of the week. And how they felt as though that this was like kind of like mean and a bullying tactic, as far as like you're basing people's character. It's like a moral test of like, are you a good person or your character based off how you act around food. Like You know what I'm trying to say? It's like if you can't have the control around food that they deem respectable, it's like they're judging your character as a moral, as a person. Like the whole show would judge your morality on as a person based off whether or not you could lose weight, which is like messed up and stuff. And I'm like, I never thought about it like that. It's like trying to say like, oh, if you can't lose weight, like you're a bad person. But because some of them would, like the trainers really would be going in on them, talking about oh, push harder. Why are you doing this? I'm gonna take your legs off and beat you with them. Like they were saying all types of crazy stuff to them. And like now looking back, as you watch the trainers yell at them, berate them, like treat them like animals, treat them like cows, treat them like just anything, you realize, wow, like that was insane. Like they was really like letting them just talk to them like that, like to this level. Like that's actually so crazy. But it's like back in the day, it actually did kind of seem like, yeah, like yell at them. And then that's another thing they were talking about, how it was like making it seem like too, if you're big because you didn't have the correct, way of living and stuff, that it's okay to yell at people if they allowed themselves to get to this place. Like if you allowed yourself to get that big, it's like now we're allowed to treat you however we want because you're big. Like how dare you become overweight? We're gonna treat you bad because look at you, like you disgusting animal. And I'm like, that's a good point of like, why, how come you get to treat them like this? And then one of those contestants, her name was Joelle or something, and she was really just like flimsy. Like she really didn't have no care in the world. Like she wasn't really trying, in a lot of the challenges, and she just was always talking. Like even watching the clips back, I know they were trying to show it to defend her and stuff like that, but she was annoying me too. I kind of understood why the trainers was
I do not care for Bob Harper. Fuck you, Bob Harper. Oh shit. God damn it. Oh, you're a little dog too.
I'm burning.
And lift.
My workout with Bob today. I mean, he had me sweating like a pig on a rope.
My girl lost only 2 pounds last night. Oh, that was a good one. You think about smacking my head together?
No, maybe Joey was a little bit. Get her back in the pocket. My end for the both of us here, and I expected her to pull her end for the both of us there. I'm sweating for the both of us.
Why did you get paid to coach me? He's the coach. I need you to support. We support each other working out. We're working out.
Because
see more sweat. That's what I want to see. Show me.
You show yourself. You had your week to show yourself. I ate your McDonald's. Talk about that.
I lost 9 pounds this week. 9 pounds this week. I'm down to 335. I'm down to 335. You lost 2 pounds. Then you're on the bench. You're on the bench. I lost 9 pounds.
I earned it.
Down to 2 pounds. No, you didn't. No, you didn't. 18 pounds when I came home. 6 pounds when I was having 9 pounds this week. You lost 2 pounds. And all you got to say is I'm trying. Improved it 10 times over.
Carla did not prove it. This is Wikipedia's graph. It actually shows she lost 20 pounds, not the weight she said. In fact, if you look at our final weigh-in, Carla never got to 335 while she was on the
yelling at her the way they were. But it's kind of like we're also talking about a day in time. Like back in the day, it was more cutthroat. People had less tolerance for like talking about like, using like gentle parenting. Like we didn't used to do gentle parenting. It was kind of like strap in or like be disconsidered as a human. It was like either you listen and you get in with the program, you lock in, or it's like we don't got time for you, type of thing. So it's like they would yell at her, they would tell her all these things, and every time they'll be like, okay, next lunge or next squat or next whatever thing workout that she's supposed to be doing, she'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna do it. They're like, okay, stop saying that, just do it. She's like, yeah, no more excuses. Like, okay, go. They'd be like, she's like, yeah, she would always be trying to stall by talking. I'm like, oh my God. She was annoying me too, because I'm like, girl, did you come here to talk or did you come here to work out? Like, be quiet, work out. Like, what was her problem? But she do seem like she was a little slow to me. Like, she did seem like a little bit like, not all her rockers were there, which is like a thing like we don't talk about with fat people. It's like, even if they're highly intelligent and super smart, they're never as smart or as intelligent as they technically could be. The food blocks their brain waves. They're like, they can't think right. They can't think like a normal way that they should be thinking because the chemicals from the processed foods are clogging your brain. Like, you literally get brain fog based off what types of food you eat. It's actually like a true, real thing. It's not even a type of thing where you're trying to even shit on fat people or anything. Because I feel like anybody who eats overly processed foods, even if they're able to maintain a proper weight, is probably having a level of brain fog that they could clear just by eating healthier foods. Like, it's for everybody, but at the end of the day, it's different when you're talking about brain fog from overly processed foods, as well as lack of blood flow from clogged arteries and like over amount of fat surrounding vital organs. It's like, come on now, what are we talking about? So it was a whole thing with her where she just wouldn't listen. Like, they would be yelling at her. But one thing they talked about was how, like, they never really gave the proper therapy or the proper, like, mindset shift for the contestants so that they could understand what they needed in order to actually lose weight, which I completely agree with, because like I was saying, like, they're morbidly obese. Why were they exercising for 8-9 hours a day? It's a workout just to carry that much amount of weight. I feel like they would have been able to maintain the weight loss if they had taught them that, like, look, because you're big, you don't need to do too much. Just work out normal. Just do light exercise every day and eat healthier, and you'll slowly start to lose weight. As you start losing weight, then, like, you can increase the exercise. You know what I'm trying to say? Another thing that I thought was super interesting was the doctor was talking about, okay, so basically one of the producers thought of the entire show because he was at the gym one day and he saw a sign on the gym wall from a morbidly obese person begging for a trainer saying, please, I'm morbidly obese. I'm trying to get my life back. Like, I really need help. If anybody's a trainer, anybody can help me out, please contact me. I'm really, like, vying to, like, get my life together, you know? And when the producer saw that, he had bells and rings. He saw money signs. He was like, oh my God, we should do a TV show about big people. Da, 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 da. And then he pitched the show. And that's how Biggest Loser came to be, right? So then after they came up with The Biggest Loser, he was already friends with a celebrity doctor. This guy was a doctor who ended up working in the NFL because when he was in college, he went to a really good college or something like that. And he was studying to be a doctor there, but he was also super active and a fit guy. So he did a lot of working out, and he was on the wrestling team for that college and did really well in that too.
Well, it's kind of like my kids, I guess, you know. The show could have done a better job. They didn't alert me of the challenge. I mean, I should be at every one of the challenges. I pretty much said I was going to quit unless I got to talk to the trainers. So they would force them to come in and I'd give my little half-an-hour speech, and maybe some things changed. Not as much as I would like.
You know, he was the doctor of the show. A lot of people in the medical profession, some might say they have a God complex. And maybe Dr. Isang is no different. But no one was going to tell us what to do when it came to diet and exercise. It was our meal plans. It was our exercise program.
So he understood both sides of, like, the professional sports realm of life, and also being a doctor, because he was, you know, he was educated. He had his PhD and everything. So I guess he was friends with somebody who was, like, at the NFL, and they were like, oh, you know, did you ever, when you were wrestling, play through pain? And that was more what they were looking for. They weren't looking for a doctor who was just a doctor and knew things about sports and health and, you know, trying to keep people alive. They were trying to look for a doctor who understood the realm of sports and the fact that we don't got time for excuses talking about some health shit. Wrap these motherfuckers up and put them back on the field, you know, type thing. So that's why they picked him to be their doctor, right? So the issue that they were having once he was a doctor for that NFL team was that they had, like, these 400-pound linebackers. And when the 400-pound linebackers would go to practice and they'll be working out, they would work out so much that their appetite would decrease from so much exercise, and they couldn't maintain their 400-pound weight. So they would have to eat a lot. Like, they would have to, like, give them, like, you know, no nutrition, like, you know, parameters of, like, you can't eat this, you can't eat. It was kind of like, give them cheat days, like, let them eat, because they wouldn't have an appetite to eat because they worked out so much, which is something I do talk about in some of my Fit Mentality videos of, like, if you're trying to get to a place where you're, like, trying to lose weight or something like that, I always say in the beginning, you need to eat more, not less, and pick up your exercise. What you need to do is slightly replace some of the foods that you're eating that are processed with nutrient dense foods, but keep eating the processed foods if that's what you want. But just like decrease the processed food a little bit and increase the nutrient dense food a little bit. But don't change honestly, in the very, very beginning, don't even change your eating patterns at all. Eat what you want, eat as much as you want, but increase your exercise in the beginning. That's what I always say. So when I saw that, when they talked about how excess exercise scientifically decreases appetite, I'm like, yes, this is what I've been saying. Like, bitch, put my PhD at the end of my name. I've been saying this. It's like, when you exercise, this is why when certain fat people like talk and they make certain excuses, I don't even be understanding what they're talking about, how they can't maintain certain weights and stuff. I'm like, have you really been exercising? Because anybody who exercises, like, after you go to the gym sometimes, you're so tired you can't eat. Like, you never worked out and been so tired you just fell asleep. You forgot to eat. Like, that's what happens. You like, when you exercise a lot, like, it's tiring to eat. That's why when people complain about like weight gain too, and it's like, it's harder to gain weight than you actually realize. You're actually making an excess effort to be big. Like, being big is hard. Like, in the moments where I be trying to gain weight, it'd be like, that shit is difficult. Losing weight is way easier than gaining weight if you do it correctly. If you understand how weight actually works and how the human body actually works, you'll understand that it's way harder to gain weight than to lose weight. Losing weight is easy, bro. Like, you are making it hard if you can't lose weight. You're finding a way. Like, you are literally finding a way because it's not difficult. So they were talking about that too. Oh my God. And then another thing they were discussing was that how on the show, the trainers was giving the contestants caffeine medication. So then that way that they would be, for one, suppress their appetite, and two, give them energy to work out. Because like I said, they had them working out for like 8-9 hours a day. They had them working out all day. Like, these people did not rest. They were always working out and they would not eat that much. So it was like they didn't have a lot of energy. So they were giving them caffeine pills because they wanted to win the challenges. And one of the main two trainers was Bob Harper and Jillian Michaels. Jillian refused to be on the documentary, right? But when the pill thing came up, everybody denied. The doctor said he had no parts in it. The producers all said they had no clue about it. Bob said he never gave no contestant no caffeine medicine, but Jillian refused to come.
For the health. The people that were doing it right, it was incredibly safe.
For TV, the Biggest Loser documentary on Netflix, and how did it all end up? Well, not well. So on top of not being a scientist or a keyword, I'm also not a medical professional, so I had to fact check that a little bit, because this doctor, a lot of the things he's saying, the literal entirety of the medical profession disagree with. The highest that they say is safe is like maybe 1 or 2 pounds a week, not 17, 12, 25. However, unbeknownst to all the people watching at home, there was a reason they were able to lose that much weight that quickly, on top of them just seriously restricting their food, being terrible to them, making them work out all the time, but there was a little extra something coming in.
Given, what are they called? Stackers. And a stacker was like a caffeine pill. You're allowed one of these a day, but they were approved by the trainer.
Hold it up, last day's workout.
I took it because I decided that, hey, caffeine would probably help me in a workout. I broke a record losing 7 weeks in a row, double digits.
It's giving that influencer who decided to blow up her entire career because everyone thought TikTok was going away. Never mind, there are like 700 other types of social media, but came on here and was like, actually, it wasn't cream cheese peppers. I was on a GLP-1. Keep in mind, it's not that you were on the thing. It's that you were on it, lied about it, and then sold people stuff based on a complete lie. Side note, if you did see one of those that said like I was a scientist or something, disregard slander, call my attorney. Anyway. But remember, the big theme here is everyone who was in charge of this, no one did anything wrong ever. Like, it was always someone else. Someone else was doing this. It's giving that hereditary clip I used in the last one. When the doctor, they asked them, like, so the caffeine stuff, how did you feel about that?
Caffeine, a weight loss pill, absolutely against everything in the show. No caffeine pills, no caffeine. I banned coffee because people were abusing it. It was in the show rules, and the patients signed off to that, and the trainers signed off to that, and all the producers signed off to that. If a trainer tells you something different and you elect to do that, that's on you.
So help me with the that's on them thing. Okay, just help me a little bit with that. So shouldn't it be on the trainer, especially because there's some pretty intense power dynamics going on here, not to mention the fact that they're being filmed for TV. You guys are all experienced in this industry. These people are new. And the contract that you're talking about them signing, most of them didn't even understand what they were signing because when they asked for attorneys, they were told if you wait for an attorney, you're going to be recast. And look at how awful your life is. You know, I feel like there's a couple more steps in that sentence. Not to mention, again, shouldn't that fall on him and the trainers, considering they were the ones literally tasked with these people's physical health? No, I'm not going to say mental health because we don't tell they didn't care about that. But isn't there some responsibility there at all? Or if you're not going to take it too, this is how she's going to treat you.
Every time you want to quit, think about your father, you're about to drop dead on the treadmill. Go!
So let's make a little power dynamic soup to look at this, right? So you're coming into this space that is not your space. This is their space. They've been doing this. You're the new guy. You've been told that you're the worst ever and that you have some kind of moral failing, which that is not a moral failing. And that this is your last chance. They are going to put this out there for you. Plus you're being treated like that. You have a very restricted calorie intake and you're being worked until you are exhausted all the time, which, side note, is a culture tactic to keep people compliant. And this person walks up to you and hands this in your face. That person, the likelihood that you're going to say no is very small. Not to mention the producers do not feel like Jillian is harmful.
Go! I never, ever felt that Jillian was ever looking to do something that would ever harm the contestants because I knew what.
And Jillian did actually confess on the television show that she did give them caffeine medication. And I feel like that caffeine medication accusation is why she didn't do the documentary, because she did it. And mind you, I didn't even know she had fessed up to it on the television show. But the minute they started bringing it up, I was like, Jillian did that shit. I was like, I knew immediately. I was like, Jillian did it. And then boom, they show the scene of her saying, I did give them caffeine medication. And they're like, okay, well, we're deducting 4 points from your board or whatever as your team because that was against the rules. You can't do that, this and the third. So I think she was worried that if she went on TV and the documentary and confessed up to it, for one, public perception would be really bad and she has like a reputation and stuff. And then for two, it might open her up to litigation or something like that if she comes back again in 2025, like, you know, with the full investigation talking about it and stuff. So I think she just wanted to avoid the documentary at all costs. I feel like Bob probably didn't do it because one thing I did notice about Barb, Joelle, she don't fuck with him. She hate him just because he yelled at her and told her to do 30 seconds on the treadmill, which I did feel like for the time period that they were on that show, all the excessive stuff that they were doing to them makes sense. This was the era we were in. It was normal to berate people. It was normal to treat fat people bad. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? And also it was like, it wasn't like a thing where you didn't understand what the show was. There was so many TV shows and advertisement of Biggest Loser where you would see the fat people fighting for their lives. Like, everybody kind of understood what you were signing up for. I didn't understand why Joelle was being such a punk, but she was like on some Bob Harper. She not messing with him. But other than her, most of the other contestants who met Bob Harper or like worked with him, they all pretty much like him. They're like, yeah, we're still friends with Bob to this day. There's even this lady on TikTok who's like, I loved Bob. He was the funnest ever. We got to live LA life with Bob. Bob was the best, this, that, and the third. Like, people actually mess with Bob. So I'm like,
So that's me. Biggest Loser, season 4, Blue Team. I figured since everybody's talking about the Biggest Loser documentary on Netflix that I would share a little bit of my insight. So I had Bob as my trainer, and I was on season 4. That's many moons ago. And I really do believe that season 4 was the season that made the show crazy popular. It was already popular, but season 4 took it to a next level. I don't know if you remember, our season was where we had the contestant drink pickle juice to gain weight. I dove into a 3-foot pool and knocked out my 2 front teeth. It was the season that started with Bob and Kim, and we thought that all our contestants, 6 contestants, were getting sent home, and here they were just hiding. And then the black team surprised us, and Jillian was back. So we actually had Bob, Jillian, and Kim on our show, on our season. And here's the thing, like, the show was insane. But what we knew in 2007 is not what we know now, right? So yeah, did I barely eat and worked out 7 hours a day? Absolutely. But we still had the best time. Like, I just thought it was so fun. I met some of the best people, and I still keep in touch with a lot of them. Was living in LA, losing weight, on TV. There was no televisions, no internet. Social media was like barely a thing. It was like just Facebook, right? It was so fun. And it was nuts. And obviously, like, the show could never come back in the capacity that it was then. But for that time, like, was it super healthy? No. But does it mean that, did I still have fun? Yes. Right? And so it was crazy because it was really, like, the show was already popular. I mean, we were literally, when you think about 2007, there was no streaming, right? So we were 8 o'clock NBC Tuesday nights for 2 hours. We're the biggest show on network television. And we had 2 days that were down days, right? That were dark days. Where, like, we would go into West Hollywood and we would basically live Bob's life with him. We would go take his spin class at Crunch, which, by the way, Bob Harper was doing tap backs and Soul Cycle type spinning before Soul Cycle was even a thing. We would hike Grand Canyon. We go eat at Kookaroo. We get Manny's and Patty's. Like, we basically, like, lived Bob's life with him, right? And it was awesome. Like, I think we saw him every day. Now, our season taped from April until August, and I made it until the final week, and then I got voted off. So the last 6 people for season 4, there was 4 black team members and 2 blue team members, and it was me and Neil left on the blue team, and then it was Isabel, Holly, Julie, and Bill left on the black team. And I fell below the line with Julie, and so I got voted off. But then the next week the show was over, so I really made it far, which was awesome. And then our finale was December, so it was 8 months. It was from April really until December. And how the show worked is, like, we were in LA recording from April until August, and then that's when production stopped, and then from August to December you were all home training for the finale, and then you came back in December, and that is when you obviously, like, did the live finale. And some kind of crazy moments, like, we went to Jamaica, so Air Jamaica sponsored the trip, and we literally flew from, actually, I'll put the picture here, hopefully it come up. We flew from LA all the way to Jamaica. It was like an 8-hour flight, and we had, like, the whole plane to ourselves, cast and crew, and then the crew stayed at Hedonism, and we worked out, like, the blue team. We went to the gym at Hedonism, and it was all glass, and there was just, like, naked people walking around, and we're just, like, sweating, doing spin class, having Bob scream at us. Oh, and that was another thing, like, I love Bob, and I was the first girl that actually, in the very first episode, we had to run a mile in the desert, and I was the 4th person overall, and the first girl, and I got to Bob, and I was like, I just kept looking at your hot ass and run forward. And, like, we're both Leos, he and I both had, like, sassy attitudes, and we just, like, hit it off. And our season was really intense because, like I said, Jillian surprised everybody, so we were, like, very competitive. So we kind of kept ourselves in the beginning, and then obviously as more people got voted off, we got even closer. But, you know, Bob was really hard on me. Like, he would be like, Nicole, I swear to God, if you drop those weights, I'm gonna cut off your hands so you wish you had hands to pick up the weights. Let's go. Like, he really pushed me because he knew I could take it. And there was one time we were doing a last chance workout, and he was just ruthless. Like, and I wouldn't stop. And the camera lady, Kat, God rest her soul, she literally put down her camera and said to Bob, you need to stop, because she's not gonna stop, you need to stop. And I thought that was really interesting too, like little tidbits, like behind the scenes stuff that you wouldn't necessarily know. And you know what would happen is that, like, production would only film for certain times. So, like, they might show up at 9 a.m. and we'd film from like 9 a.m. to say like 8 p.m. or 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. And then before, like, we didn't have cameras rolling 24/7. So there's a lot of stuff that, like, happened behind the scenes. Like, we'd go on walks at night, or we'd, like, hang out and just kind of, like, you know, play cards, or, like, we had like a 13-inch TV, and, like, sometimes we'd, like, watch movies and, you know, just kind of hang out. And yeah, and again, like I had a really good time, and we never knew it was gonna happen. Oh, did I mention that I already dove into a 3-foot pool, knocked out my 2 front teeth? These are fake. Oh, and then I had to get a full root canal, and they sent me home with temporary teeth, and so I got voted off, so I had to go home. Right? So I got home with temporary teeth that I had to use Fixodent. So I come home and do my big reveal, and everyone's like, your teeth are weird. Like, I lost 67 pounds on the show. I lost 105 pounds total in 8 months. And let me say, like, the show totally ruined their metabolisms. I definitely think it's important to say that, like, two things could be true at once. Like, the show could ruin your metabolism, and it could be fun. Like, I think I'm a pretty, like, of sound mind person. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll answer the best I could, and yeah, add some photos and stuff, because it really was the best time. And this was on the beach in Santa Monica. I think it was one of the first episodes. But I can't believe it's, like, 2007. I'm like, oh my God, crazy. I do look better now, though.
Like, girl, it's a little bit shaky. Most people are saying that he was cool to work with and they liked him. It was kind of just you. You didn't really have the mentality to be on a show like this. And I feel like she just did it just to do it. Just because, like I said, these people genuinely think that their whole life revolves around the fact that they're fat. When the fact that they are revolving their life around the fact that they're fat is why their life revolves around it. Like, it's honestly the other way around. So it's kind of like a thing where it's like, you're blaming all the wrong stuff. And then Bob Harper going to talk about okay, so the doctor used to tell the trainers, like, hey, make sure you guys are, like, not underfeeding the contestants, Make sure you guys are not overworking them too. I'm giving them certain parameters. I'm giving them certain things, the guidelines and stuff like that, so that these people don't accidentally get too unhealthy or you do something that they can't come back from. Bro, why Bob Harper gonna be like, yeah, we will be talking to the doctor, but doctors have a God complex. They think they know everything. I'm the trainer. I'm the one who knows what it takes to lose weight. And I'm like, you ruined these people's entire metabolic health. What are you talking about? It's like Bob, my issue with Bob is that he was projecting that onto the doctor, where it's like, you have the God complex. To be fair to the doctor that The Biggest Loser hired, he was actually very well educated. He actually preached all the right stuff. He actually tried his best to stop these trainers from ruining these people's lives. But it's also a thing where we're looking at the effects of an obesity epidemic that we're at the beginning stages of. The idea of having obesity at the rates that America has them at currently is something that is completely new. So for us to know that in 10 years down the line, if you make someone lose 239 pounds in 6 months, it was going to ruin their lives. I mean, I feel like you should be able to kind of guess that. Anybody who has anything sensible to think. But it's kind of like a thing too. It's like, why not get this shit out quickly? If you have like the type of mindset of like Jillian or Bob, where these are people who have never been fat, who are like obsessed with fitness, who all they do is this, it's like they're used to the type of like, they're used to the type of patients or like the type of clients where these people have like a stubborn 30, a stubborn 15 pounds, a stubborn 10 pounds that they're trying to get rid of. So it's kind of like, let's get these off as fast as possible. Summer's around the corner, So they're used to being this like headstrong on people and making them do all these extreme diets and extreme levels of weight loss for people who are only trying to lose 15, 20 pounds, like just stubborn body fat, right? But these are people who have morbid obesity to lose. And I feel as though the Biggest Loser's biggest mistake was hiring the type of trainers who are used to those type of fitness people. They're used to people who already exercise regularly. They're used to people who already, kind of understand the implications of health and understand what it takes to, maintain a fit body. So to get those type of trainers and have them train people who are morbidly obese, which comes from like a mindset of barely ever working out, always eating bad food, sitting around a lot. Like that's these type of people's personality. You can't mix that with that type of weight loss, You needed a type of trainer who's already been fat maybe before in the past, or who works with fat people a lot and who understands that, how to educate them on what it takes to change, to shift their mentality as well, to shift their mindset. And I think Joelle, in the back of her mind, kind of understood that this wasn't going to work. And maybe that's why she didn't have because it's the fact that we're trying to rush her to lose weight, why she couldn't lose weight. If they had trying to take a slower route with her, like for example, she can't do 30 seconds on the on the treadmill without stopping. Mind you, in the 30-second clip that I saw, the reason he got mad at her wasn't because she stopped, it's because she held the railings while she kept going. But I'm like, what is holding the railings gonna do? Like, let her hold the railings if she needs to hold the railings. I felt like in one episode of Biggest Loser, they should have made the trainers wear like a 200-pound weight suit, like a fat body suit, and have them work out with them and see if it's as easy as they're saying. To have Jillian Michaels wear a 200-pound weighted vest and then do the same workouts and have all the contestants cuss in her face. You're being lazy. Get the fuck up. Da-da-da-da. All that shit. I'm gonna beat the shit out of you. I'm gonna rip your hair out and then burn it in the fire. Like all this crazy stuff that they were saying to them. They should have done that to the trainers on one episode so we could see like, hey, it's not that easy being big. Like, what the hell? They'll be trying to make it seem like these people are just lazy, these people are this. How do you carry around that much weight and be called lazy? And that's the thing about a fat body that a lot of people don't understand. It's like, you see them covered in blubber and you think to yourself, like, they've had enough food, like, you know what I'm trying to say? They're just always eating. They're always hungry. But the reason that they're always hungry is because their body is starving. From the inside, their body is starving and begging for nutrients. So it's like telling them to eat less, telling them to do this, to move more, to do this, to do that. It's the opposite effect. You're telling a body that is literally in starvation mode at every hour of the day to eat less. You need to tell them to eat more to finally get their body the nutrients and the type of energy that they need to finally remove themselves from starvation. You have the opposite effect. Think about, for example, people who get starved. Like, let's talk like Holocaust, right? Right after the Holocaust, when they took those people out and they was like down to skin and bones and they hadn't eaten for months and stuff like that, they had been being starved and things like that. What did they have to do to get those people back to normal health? They couldn't feed them. They had to give them like water with sugar in it and slowly let them just drink that. Even the water with sugar, they had to drink it slowly because their body was so used to being starved that if you started giving them food, they would die. So if that's what happens on the extreme level of starvation, what do you think happens on the extreme level of like food consumption? It's the same thing. You can't just remove food. And I think that America has this extreme culture where there's like everything always has to be on one level of an extreme. It's never just like, you know, let's take it slow, let's da-da-da-da. And the producers talked about that a lot in the show, that where they were like, look, like a lot of the things y'all wanted us to do or wanted us to understand and wanted us to like, you know, prevent from ruining these people's lives and stuff, it doesn't make for good TV. If we sat around and slowly teach people how to educate themselves on health and how to lose weight and all this kind of stuff, that's not really exhilarating. We were kind of trying to shock America and give America a television that they never seen before and actually shed light to the obesity epidemic that was going on in America. And we thought this was going to be a good way to do it. And to be fair to them, they did actually bring a lot of light to the problem with us having so much obesity in America, right? But they didn't bring any sort of education. They didn't bring any sort of knowledge. They didn't bring any sort of real solutions to stopping people from being, from having this happen. Another thing that they were complaining about on the show towards the end was like, there was no aftercare. There was no like, you know, now that you've lost all this weight, we're going to make sure you maintain the weight loss. A lot of them were getting injured on the show too, because you have a 400-pound body. You have the bones having to, you know, go through 8-9 hours of exercise with 400 pounds weighing on it. Of course they were having injuries left, right, and center. One of the ladies on TikTok was talking about how she knocked her 2 front teeth out. The Joelle lady had a back problem. They said 11 contestants died after going through The Biggest Loser. They never talked about them in the documentary. They were like, say their names. Like, how come you never discussed all the people that died from the show?
It just got such heat that the network was just like, we don't trust this.
Yeah, because they acted like they didn't see that happening. All of a sudden, the girl comes out and she's like anorexic looking, and they're shocked.
The show negatively or have critiques of the show, I totally understand. I'm not naive or have rose-colored glasses. I see. But for me, I think my goal was to have that conversation about health and wellness and giving people that idea that it's possible.
We were living at a time where obesity was killing us. That's why when Loser came around, the messaging, as controversial as it was and is, we were just trying to shed light on a really terrible epidemic that was happening.
Right. While they're making millions, and the other one of them basically died.
When I make no money, and they're making millions.
Right.
So after watching the Biggest Loser documentary and seeing how eye-opening what really happened behind the scenes of the show and everyone's trauma and just the truth, where were the tributes? Where were the in memories of? Because in case you didn't know, 11 contestants have passed away since the show was canceled. Say their names.
And I'm like, damn, people died? Well, of course. I'm like, because that's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, how didn't anybody die? And that's because they did. And it's like a thing where it's like they were trying to claim this whole thing of like, we were just trying to bring the light to this problem and stuff like that. And guess what they said at the end of the show? They were like, when Biggest Loser started, America's obesity rate was at 32% of the population being obese. When the show ended, America's rate of obesity was at 45%. They increased America's obesity by 13%. Because you got people running around here thinking that extremeness is going to get them weight loss. When it's like what they were basically promoting was yo-yo dieting. Of like, in 6 months, lose as much weight as you can, like stop everything, just only exercise, eat as little as possible, fight for your life, and lose as much as you can. Instead of, hey, in order to lose weight in a way that's going to be sustainable, this has to be a lifestyle switch. They should have been going into all of their homes, understanding how their life is, what do they eat every day, how did they even get to this place in obeseness, how did they, you know what I'm trying to say, and completely shift their lifestyle. But instead, they were just like, Jillian Michaels, yell in their face for 6 months and let's see what we can get done. It's like, come on now, y'all didn't really think that shit was gonna work. Y'all knew. And then that's what I feel like those percentages that they showed of America going from 32% to 45% prove like they just ended up increasing it because they glamorized yo-yo dieting. They glamorized a quick fix. They even talked about how one of the contestants came on one day of showing their like change, and she was so skinny, everybody gasped. She basically had gone anorexic. She hadn't been eating and stuff like that. And everyone's like, no, she took it too far. She took it too far. But it's like a thing where it's like, now you guys are the ones who encouraged her to take it to this level. But now that she got to the rate where you guys are kind of basically saying is acceptable, now it's like she took it too far. But this is what you were promoting her to do. But now she did it too well. This is what I always talk about too. Is like you listen to people's advice. As soon as you do their advice a little bit too good, now all of a sudden they're like, oh no, you did too much. It's like, stop listening to people. Like, look at this. Everyone's like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Jillian Michaels was like, she quit the show after that. Because she was like, she realized she was promoting stuff that even though that she didn't tell the girl to do that, she was like supporting a system that was supporting what the girl did and like got her to the point to thinking that it was okay to do that. And that's when she quit the show. I'm like, Jillian. I feel like Jillian Michaels never cared about none of the contestants. One thing I can say about Bob, he kept in contact with a lot of the contestants. A lot of them still speak highly about him. Like, even though a lot of what they did was wrong, I feel like he was a part of the same system as they were, where it was kind of like cogs in the machine, and he understood that, and he didn't think of himself as better than these fat people. Jillian, however, I think that the entire time she was on the show, she just looked at those people in disgust. I think that she was horrified by those people. I don't think she ever respected any of them. I don't think she cared about any of them. I think she was there for her check, and that's it. That's all. I don't think she gave a fuck. That's why she was over there pushing caffeine pills down their throat, yelling at them, berating them, treating them like shit. Like, I think all of that was truly, truly how she felt. For real, for real, for real. And I'm like, this is insane. Fat mentality in its finest.
Since bitches prefer documentaries and not books. I hope that some of y'all who are on here saying that fat jokes and fat phobia is just not that serious and it's definitely not as serious as racism and homophobia. I hope that y'all watch this. Some of y'all, I know that most of y'all are hopeless, right? And you're gonna be ignorant regardless. But I hope that some of y'all watch this documentary and realize how ignorant y'all fucking sounded on this bitch for a whole week. The way that the police officer functions in racism is the way that the doctor and health professionals, trainers like Bob Harper and Jillian Michaels, that's how those motherfuckers operate when it comes to fat phobia. I hope that y'all can watch this documentary and just get a glimpse of how violent, deadly, unhealthy diet and fitness culture actually can be, and that weight loss is not always the solution that y'all think it is. Diet culture and fitness culture does to fat bodies what mass incarceration does to black bodies, and I won't be explaining myself. One, because y'all have more than show me. A lot of y'all don't have the capacity to understand, even if I did explain myself. And furthermore, these things have been proven, substantiated by actual scholars, right? People who have been making these claims, proving it with data, and formulating these arguments for decades, right? And most of y'all are sitting up here agreeing with a bitch that eat like a garbage disposal. Okay? And the only reason why that's not reflected in her size is because if she gained more than 20 pounds, to the chop shop she goes. Y'all can't tell me shit. I just want y'all to know. And I know a lot of y'all are going to say, oh, well, it was only unhealthy and extreme because they were doing it all for TV. But TV oftentimes reflect real life. Art often imitates real life, does it not? Like, weight loss is not the solution that y'all think it is. It is a huge trauma on the body, especially when you're talking about losing 100, 200 pounds. And that's if you survive the process of weight loss. And fuck the doctor too, okay? Because the medical advisor for this show is sitting up in this documentary talking about, oh, there were things that I was just uncomfortable with. And you still cashed that check. You still worked that job, even though you took that oath to do no harm. And you knew that they were doing harm to the people on this show just so they can get the results of The Biggest Loser. You knew what they were doing to people so that they can lose weight on this show. So I don't want to hear you boo-hooing talking about, oh, I was uncomfortable. Fuck that. Fuck everybody involved.
Too much media.
Welcome to Too Much Media.
Too much media.
Too much.
Have fun. Too much media.